The 2024 NCAA Men's Tournament Bracket Field of 68 has been revealed, and we're going to reveal it to all of you. I'm Harrison Graham. That is Nick Roloff. Lots of thoughts, lots of opinions as we analyze this bracket here. We'll go region by region. We'll also kind of work in the teams that got in, teams that got left out, last four in, first four out, so stay tuned for that. Let's start with the East region, Nick. The UConn Huskies, the number one overall seed. They draw Stetson. They would take on the winner of Florida Atlantic and Northwestern in the round of 32.
Yeah, quick thoughts here. UConn, the number one overall seed in the tournament. That should be no surprise to anyone. Shocker to me is Florida Atlantic getting on the 8 line. I thought they were much closer to the bubble than the committee believed they were to be. I thought there was a chance they'd be heading to Dayton for the first four. Evidently not even close. The team that made the Final Four last year that featured a UConn team winning it all could have a matchup here in the second round.
Yeah, not the easiest draw for UConn. A Final Four team from last year potentially in round 2, and then potentially in the Sweet 16 as we go to the next chunk of games here, Rolly. San Diego State, UAB, the 5-12, Auburn, Yale 4-13. The Aztecs runner-ups last year. That will not be easy for UConn. And also Auburn, a team who just steamrolled through the SEC tournament. I mean, this is a loaded chunk of the bracket right here for the defending champion UConn Huskies.
Yeah, I'm shocked that San Diego State is getting put into this matchup. And I'm even more shocked that Auburn is on the 4 line. I thought the Tigers deserved to be closer to the 3 line. And after winning the SEC tournament today, I expected them to not only get closer to that 3 line, but at least get a little bit of a favorable draw here by the committee. Evidently not the case for the Bruce Pearl-led Auburn Tigers, as they are going to have to absolutely fight their way to just make it to the Elite 8. This is as tough as a draw as you can see.
I will say Auburn, San Diego State round 2 could be the game of the tournament. I mean, that feels like fireworks if it ends up happening.
It certainly will be the game of the first weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Bottom half of the East region here, you got BYU, Duquesne. Duquesne, a bid stealer as they were able to win the A-10. Illinois, Morehead State. BYU and Illinois, 2 high-powered offenses in a potential round of 32 matchup. That could be interesting. Bottom half of the East region, Washington State back in the tournament for a first time in a while, Rolly. I think Drake's a pretty dangerous 10 seed here. That's a fun matchup. And then Iowa State, again, tough sledding for UConn. I think clearly the team on the 2 line playing the best right now, they draw South Dakota State.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance the Cyclones was going to earn themselves the final 1 seed in the West region. Evidently, the committee kept it going to the Tar Heels from North Carolina after their loss in the ACC title game against NC State. I mean, Iowa State playing great basketball, one of the best defensive teams in the entire country, drubs Houston, who was presumed the number 1 overall seed in the Big 12 championship game by 30, and the Cyclones have to be matched up with UConn in the first, and at least potentially in the Elite 8. I just disagree, and I think Iowa State got screwed. I think UConn got screwed. I don't love this seeding by the committee.
Yeah, I think the East region's the toughest. We'll break down the other 3 sections in just a moment. Who wins it all? Who wins March Madness this year? Let us know in the comment section down below. Also, subscribe to the channel. We've picked up a bunch of new subscribers during our live stream breaking down March Madness. And Rolly, I don't know about you, I'm pretty excited because we're doing some March Madness watch parties for the first time ever here at Chat Sports. They'll start on Thursday night, or Thursday afternoon, I should say, really late morning, early afternoon for some first round action. We'll keep it going on Friday as well. And then we'll resume for Sweet 16 action all the way through the national championship game. If all goes well, if you guys show up and hang out, we'll be going live for all of those games. So subscribe, stay tuned for that. We also cover the NFL, the NBA, and college football here at Chat Sports. Let's move over to the South region. Rolly, the Houston Cougars, the second number 1 overall seed. They'll take on Longwood in the first round. Feel free to throw your best jokes in the comments. I like this 8-9 matchup. I don't think Nebraska, A&M are Final Four contenders, although A&M's a dangerous team. I just think in the first round, that's one of those fun games.
Yeah, and when you look at this little top half of the South region in total, there's been some heavyweight bouts here. Nebraska, A&M, to your point, if Texas A&M is playing its best ball, which that's a big over-exaggeration.
Very hit and miss.
I mean, Tyrese Radford and Will Taylor is one of the best 1-2 combinations in the backcourt in the entire country. If they play their best basketball, I'm not saying they could beat Houston, but they will absolutely challenge them if they're playing good in that backcourt. And then you look below here, the Dukes of James Madison can absolutely take down Wisconsin, and it would not shock me one bit, Harrison, if JMU was matching up with Houston in the Sweet 16. The Blue Devils have talent, but they're hit and miss as well. James Madison went into Michigan State and beat the Spartans back in November. JMU is a team that could sneakily make a run here.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that front. Let's go to the bottom half of the South region. Texas Tech, NC State. NC State has a player by the name of DJ Burns that kind of captivated the nation during the ACC tournament. He's 6'9", 275 pounds, just a bully inside, Rolly. He's a tough matchup. I think there's going to be a lot of people picking NC State. That's going to be a sexy upset pick. Texas Tech, a pretty well-rounded team, so I wouldn't be shocked if they won that game. Kentucky, Oakland in the 3-14. You got the first play-in game right there. Florida faces the winner of Boise State and Colorado, which, quite frankly, I didn't think either of those teams were worthy of being in Dayton. Colorado 25th in net. I thought Boise was pretty safe. Apparently not. And then Marquette, Western Kentucky. What stands out to you with these four games?
Yeah, it's the underseeding of the Florida Gators. They were in the SEC tournament championship game. They lost to Auburn, but they are playing very good basketball. Todd Golden has the Gators playing its best ball right now, which is what you want to do. I thought the Gators should have been on the 6 line. They evidently get put on the 7 line, and this is a nightmare matchup for Marquette. Shaka Smart hasn't really had the success in the tournament since the early 2010s runs with the VCU Rams. I thought this was the year that you could pencil in Marquette and Shaka Smart finally making a little bit of a run in the NCAA tournament. I don't think so anymore. You do not want to be playing Florida early in the tournament, and Marquette is going to have its hands full with the Gators in that round 2 matchup in the round of 32, because I like Boise State, I like Colorado, but I just like Florida more, and I'm nervous for the Golden Eagles if they're going to be able to get past the first week.
I think all 3 of those teams could challenge Marquette, by the way. I like whoever comes out of that matchup.
I'm a little skeptical of Colorado able to do so, but Boise State could give them a run. I just think Florida is so damn good.
Yeah, they're playing really good basketball right now. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's March Madness bracket reveal show. That March Madness is why you should get going with PrizePicks. It's the perfect time of year to play daily fantasy. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. With the amount of games you're going to be watching, why not spice them up? Why not get more involved and get in on the excitement? And by the way, if college basketball isn't, the biggest thing you're into, well, you got the NBA, you got NHL. More or less on the stat projections, and you select more or less, and you collect money. 2 to 6 player entries. It's very simple. If you want to kind of wet the beak a little bit and get in on some action before the NCAA tournament to kind of get a feel for how it is, well, here's a 2-player entry I've got in the NBA tonight. I got a little deal on DeJounte Murray, a little discount on the points, 20.5. Take more on that. I like him to score 21 plus tonight. And then Kawhi Leonard, I took a Goblin pick there. There's demons and goblins. Demons means it's harder to hit. They raise the points, more or less, numbers there. In Goblin's case, which is that green little logo there, it lowers the point total. You take the more there, you can win up to 2 times your money on this entry, 10 to win 20. So it's kind of a safer entry, but I feel good on connecting. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Get that deposit match up to $100. Sign up with PrizePicks today and get in on the excitement. All right, we're going to go to the Midwest region here. The Purdue Boilermakers looking for redemption, Rolly. And I said this live when we saw this instantly, and I'll say it again here. Kind of feel like the committee threw them a bone by having the 16 that they're going to play, having to play in Dayton before. They'll play the winner of Montana State and Grambling. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I don't hate that line of thought. Utah State TCU is going to be an intriguing first-round matchup. I don't really see those 2 teams threatening Purdue
I would agree with
in the
that.
round of 32, but I want to focus in on this group right here because I think both Gonzaga and Kansas could be on upset alert early. I don't think Gonzaga is that good. I think McNeese is the best 12 seed there is out there. Will Wade has that team absolutely
Will
humming.
wiretapping Wade, ready to go.
I think McNeese State will be the most picked upset in the first round, but it should be for a reason. I would take the 12-seeded I forgot the Aggies, I believe, over Gonzaga. And I also
Cowboys.
Cowboys, that's right. Kansas is not playing good basketball.
No.
A lot of injuries to Dickinson, Kevin McCullough Jr., but Samford, the Bulldogs, they're a good offensive team, and if Kansas does not bring their A game in the first round like they have been playing lately, I could see both the 12th-seeded McNeese State and the 13th Samford teams winning, setting up a 12-13 round of 32 matchup.
I will say this, if you're Kansas and you may be lacking confidence here, you got a decent enough draw to get to the Sweet 16. If you can get through Samford, I think Kansas is better than Gonzaga. McNeese is a good team, but I would still favor Kansas in a round of 32 matchup. In that line of thinking, I think if you're Bill Self, you got to be pretty pleased with how this fell today for you. Bottom half of the Midwest region, you love this section. You think this is the toughest chunk in the entire bracket.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be a bloodbath trying to climb your way out of this 8-team little region. I thought South Carolina got screwed here. I thought the Gamecocks should have been on the 5 line. They're in the 6th. But Oregon, who's playing really good right now on the 11th spot, Pac-12 champs, they got that big man inside, Dante, that is an absolute menace. But then you look down one spot. Creighton made a run last year, barely missed the Final Four. They're in the Elite 8. I think there's a good chance they make another run this year. I like the draw for them. But now with this bottom 4 region, that's the time or the group of teams I want to talk about here, Harrison, because I think Colorado State, out of any team in the entire field of 68, they got screwed the most. Colorado State, the Rams deserve to be not having to go to Dayton. Instead, they got a matchup with Virginia, who I didn't think should have been in the tournament anyway. I know you feel the same way. I think the Rams beat Virginia. I think they beat Texas, because I'm not that high on Texas either. The only issue is Tennessee and Rick Barnes will be waiting for them in the round of 32 because Dalton Connect and that squad are really, really good. I know there's the Rick Barnes choke and march thing going around, but this is a different ball club. They have a lottery pick in Connect, averaging 20 points per game. I like Tennessee, but this is a bloodbath of a bottom region.
I selfishly want to see Tennessee, Texas. That is the ultimate, can Rick Barnes get over the hump moment against his former team that he coached for, I believe, well over a decade. So that's an interesting storyline. Another side storyline, too. Oregon potential matchup with Creighton in round 2. Dana Altman used to coach at Creighton.
Yeah, how about this real quick before we move on to the final region that is the West region? You look at this one here. I think Purdue has a very easy run to the Elite 8, but the team they'll have to match up with in the Elite 8 will be brutal, whether it be Creighton or Tennessee. Like, Creighton has a perfect matchup for Purdue. They have Kalkbrenner inside, the Big East Defensive Player of the Year for the past couple seasons, can size up with Zach Edey. But then if they play Tennessee, I don't know who Purdue has that can match up with Dalton Connect on the wings to limit him from scoring the basketball. But Tennessee has a couple dogs inside that can get physical with Zach Edey. I like Purdue's ability to get to the Elite 8, but I don't love their chances to get to the Final Four this season. They kind of got hit with a tough little group there on the bottom.
Something Matt Painter's never done, by the way. Never getting, correct?
I believe so.
Don't think they've gotten to a Final Four. So let's get to the West region here. Then we'll show the first 4 out and the last 4 in. North Carolina earns the final 1 seed, which, by the way, it's the West region, but they'll be playing in Charlotte the first couple of rounds. Mississippi State, Michigan State. I thought Sparty was a classic Dayton team, or even potentially a team that you leave out. 19-14. They're kind of leaning on the metrics there. Their net's pretty high. They get the 9. Mississippi State gets the 8. Tell you what, I'm not high on Michigan State this year, but Michigan State, North Carolina, that is TV ratings bonanza in round 2 if we get it.
Oh, it will be fun. Michigan State has a couple good guards. You got Higgins and Tyson Walker from Michigan State. But I just don't think they have the ability to match up inside with Ingram, and you have Armando Bacot for North Carolina. I think the Tar Heels got a really good draw here. I think it's honestly a cakewalk for North Carolina to get to the Elite 8, in my opinion.
This is the weakest, for them being the final 1 seed, this is the weakest path for a 1 seed to the Elite 8, in my opinion.
I completely agree with you. I think North Carolina should be able to get to that Final 8 very, very
I like
easy.
Grand Canyon over St. Mary's, by the way. That's one of my upset calls. Alabama can score as good as anyone in the country, but they can't stop anybody. They are horrific defensively. We'll see if Nate Oates' crew
And all it takes is one bad shooting night for Crimson
and they're
Tide,
done.
and they're done.
They don't play defense. So that 5 12, 4-13 section, I feel like any of those four could get to the Sweet 16, if I'm being completely honest. Bottom half of the West, Clemson, you and I agree. We think they're overseeded.
The Lobos are winning that game.
I love New Mexico in that game. The West feels like the region where you could see a few double-digit seeds get some upsets here. Colgate, Baylor is an interesting one. Baylor's kind of a bipolar team. Like, when they're on, they're very good.
They fall down so much.
They start slow a lot. Colgate's a capable shooting team. Keep an eye on that one. Dayton, Nevada. I like Nevada in that game. I thought they were a little underseeded out of the Mountain West.
I agree with them being underseeded, but my A-10 bias, as I am a St. Bonaventure alum, leans me to Dayton. But how about this? Arizona's the 2 seed. Arizona was my personal preseason national champion pick. I kind of faded off of them, but they have such a good draw here that I think it's very much in play. I would expect Arizona to make it out of this 8-team little bracket here to get to the Elite Eight, which could set off a little bit of a fireworks here, Harrison.
Caleb Love
and the Wildcats taking on North Carolina in the Elite Eight could be must-see TV. I think Arizona is going to be able to make it to that Elite Eight spot because I see a lot of upsets happening. I could see Baylor go down. I could see New Mexico make a run to the Sweet 16. This West region, it's kind of a free-for-all.
Carolina, Arizona feels like just a matchup waiting to happen because those other teams are just going to knock each other out, and then the cream of the crop will rise in that region. That's the way I see it. Let's talk bubble here, Rolly. The last four the teams that ended up in Dayton, Boise.
This is in order, by the way.
Boise State, Colorado. They're playing each other, correct? And
yes.
Then it's Virginia, Colorado State. The first four out, I think this is the bigger shocker, Rolly. Oklahoma was a minor surprise, but St. John's not even in the first four out. You and I, look, there's some seeding griping. I wouldn't have had a couple of teams that were in Dayton. Like, I would have flipped in with Michigan State, whatever. My biggest gripe to me is I don't think Virginia should have been in. And for St. John's to not even really be on the committee's bubble, that's a little surprising.
I mean, I'm shocked here. Virginia got in. Well, let me tell you this.
2 quad 1 wins all season.
2-7 in quad 1 opportunities. 54th in the net. 68th in KenPom. To compare, the Red Storm of St. John's, who wasn't even in the first four out, 4-10 in quad wins, so 2 more quad 1 wins. 32nd in net, 22 spots better, and 26th in KenPom, which ended up being 42 spots better.
It's just not even close.
If there had to be one team that got robbed the most, and my good friend Tom Sipe is going to like me saying this because he's a Red Storm fan, and I know he's devastated right now. But if you want to talk about which bubble team got snubbed the most, it is without a question St. John's. They should have got in the tournament, and they are getting even more disrespected by not even being put in the first four out. A ridiculous home job by the committee.
And then on top of adding up the metrics, Rolly, let's just say it was tied or close. They're also playing much better right now than Virginia is.
They're hot. They almost took down UConn. They lost by 5 in the semifinals.
Virginia lost to a team that stole a bid. This is a whiff by the committee. St. John should have been in the field. I don't really have a problem with any of the other admission/teams got in. Oklahoma went 10-12 in their last 22. I got no problem with them being left out of the field. I thought Sparty should have been closer to the bubble. The fact that they're a 9, I don't love that. But in the end, if they just flipped Virginia and St. John's, I'd be cool. But
yeah,
that's a complete whiff to not even have them in your first four. I mean, it sounds like they weren't even on the table for discussion among the selection committee.
Yeah, it really feels that way. I mean, Seton Hall almost got in as the team from the Big East. 3-bid Big East
67
conference.
in the net, by the way.
That is something else. I am shocked. I don't know how much else to say this, Harrison, that I'm upset. Before we head out of here, make sure you do subscribe. And before we really do get out of here, Harrison, national champion pick, quick, for the people?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to go UConn, man. I'm definitely going to dive deeper and further analyze, but they feel like the best team right now. They're good defensively. They're good offensively. They're the defending champs. I know it's hard to repeat, but if they can get through that potential Sweet 16 game of Auburn and San Diego State, I like their path to the Final Four. I think they'd beat Iowa State in the Elite Eight, so I'll go UConn as my early pick, but subject to change between now and Thursday.
My preseason national championship pick was the Arizona Wildcats. I think they have a great draw in the West. And for the people, for the culture, I'm sticking with the preseason pick. I'll take Arizona. I'll take Caleb Love, Omar Ballo, Tommy Lloyd. They have built a really good program over there in Arizona, so I'm sticking with that pick. And make sure you do subscribe as we do head out of here. We are going to be live for the first weekend of March Madness and beyond. Watch parties. We will have it all here, breaking down all the fun, the chaos, the cries. We have it all, so make sure
the
to hit
buzzer
that sub
beaters
button.